Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
Let's navigate to our report again. We will navigate using the prefix RD and then DUU. Let's see which report we want. Now employee details, right? Let's work with that. Employee details report. Now what we are trying to do here is, alright, let's try to create a calculated field which will give us some information about this length of service, right? The length of service that we have. We have a few people who are 0 years experienced, right? What did we see? The minimum we saw was like 0 years and a maximum for some workers. We saw in 22 years. Well, although that is not a realistic number, but at least in this tenant we have something like that. Can we categorize these workers can we put some labels to them? Like maybe 0 to maybe 10 years, right? We call them something from 11 to 20 years, right? We call them, maybe give them a different name. And 21 to 30 years. We tell them something and then greater than 30, like let's say 30 plus. Correct. Can we do something like this? Let's decide on some labels. What can we call something? What can we call something which is 0 to 10 years? Amateurs, right? What can we say? What can we call them? Somebody who has 0 to 10 years of experience. I don't know what to call them. Thoughtless. They won't like it. Anything else? Amateurs would still be harsh because let's make it a little bit smaller than 7 years, 0 to 7. And this is maybe 8 to 15, right? 8 to 15. And then this is 16 to 30 and 30 plus, right? 0 to 7. What can we call them? Alright. 8 to 15. Experience. 60. Right. And 30 plus is, let's say, legends. A legend and senior. And here we call them amateur. This is what we are trying to label our employees as. We are going to create a report and an employee who has between 0 to 7 years of experience in the industry in this particular organization. We will label them as amateur. And similarly for 8 to 15, 16 to 30 and 30 plus and on. Right? Let's see how we can do that. Can we break it down into smaller chunks? Like, can we do an if-else condition? And what is the function for this? If I want to check whether the condition is true or not, what is the function for that? Boolean, right? Bool. Absolutely correct. Let's create certain Boolean fields. How many Boolean fields do we want? Or how many pull and fees do we have to create for, right? Field 1, let's call it as field 1. The way we are doing it is, we are breaking it down, this requirement, into smaller chunks. Right that we are. We are able to identify what are the different calculated fields we are going to create just by looking at the requirement. If we start creating it, we will not be able to do it. We have to break it down into smaller pieces, right? Now field 1. What are we going to check? Let's say it is a Boolean field, like you said. And what are we going to do here? The experience, years of experience. Oh, years of experience. Yes, can we see greater than or equal to 0? And you remember how we wrote the Boolean. There was a rule, write a thing right. And years of experience. Less than not equal to less than or equal to yes. Right, this is how we can write it. Similarly for field 2, we will do the same thing. Field 2, I will just copy it here. Similarly, we will just keep building this same thing over. Here we will just change the parameters. Is greater than or equal to 8 and experience less than or equal to 15, right? Similarly, field 3 and field 4. Let's quickly do that. Creating in Workday is simple, but just identifying the logic is what is difficult. 3 and we call it as field 4. The third one is greater than or equal to 16 and less than or equal to 13. Now, what about the next one? Greater than or equal to 30. It should not be 30 fixedly, let's make it 31, right? 31, greater than or equal to 31. And do I have to specify less than or equal to no? No, not necessary, right? What will this field 1 field to field 3? Field 3 and C from G to 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 G. Field 4. What will be the output? A Boolean field output is either true or false, like yes or no. We saw yesterday. It can be yes or it can be a no. Then what? What are we going to get from here? Answer will be yes or a no, isn't it? But is that what we want? Do you want a yes? No kind of thing we want. We want amateur experience, senior legend, and we want to be able to do the series of calculations. Isn't it the series of calculations where we want? First check, is it 0 to 7? Is it 8 to 15? Is it 16 to? Is it 7? Isn't it? That is what we want. If, let's say somebody is 32 years of experience, we have to do all these 4 calculations, isn't it? We have to do that. Now we have to identify. Let's see how are we going to put this all together into one single function. Right? The answer to that lies in evaluate expression. Evaluate expression, the one right here. It will allow you to include multiple if-else conditions or multiple condition checks into one calculated field. Evaluate expression. That is what we are going to learn today. A very, very powerful kind of calculated field. What we will do is, after we create this 4 fields, right, we will put them in one big field. That is the if-while expression. Evaluate expression. And evaluate expression is like you write those. If-else, condition. If condition 1 is true, do something. If condition 2 is true, do something else. If condition 3 is true, then do something else. And if none of the conditions are met, do a default thing. That is what evaluate expression is all about. First thing it says is, if the first condition is true, how do we do that? We put the Boolean field right. The first condition would be, if field 1 is true, then what happens? If field 1 is true, then what do you need in the output? Amateur, right? Always want amateur. If the field 1 condition is met, you always want amateur. You always want amateur, isn't it? How can we get it? We always want that. Fixed text, right? Amateur text, constant, perfect. Yes, that means we have to create how many? 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 text constants, right? If field 1 is true, then we have another calculated field, which is a text constant, right? And what would be the field amateur? Similarly, field 2, field 3, field 4, and for each of the fields correspondingly, we should have a text constant, right? How many fields do we have to create? Do you think? 4 fields for this true, false conditions, 4 fields for the text constants, and 1 field for the evaluate expression. 9 different fields we have to create to achieve this particular thing. Although it sounds a bit daunting, but let's see how we can do it. Maybe we can copy something to make our lives a bit easier first. Let's do a calculated field. Then let's create a calculated field. What we will do in the meantime is we will keep a copy of the names of the calculated field that we are able to link it later. See if and then true false. I will say it if true false. And then what is the first true false criteria? Experience between 0 and 7 years. Is that how we can write? Or length of service between 0 and 7. Length of service is between 0 and 7. Length of service is between 0 and 7 years. Right, stored in the worker object. Function is true. False now. Now comes the interesting part. Alright, what is the field? Which field are we going to use? What is the interest of this field? Remember we created a calculated field yesterday, length of service. But when we extracted the length of service, when the number of years did, we extract something like that already, and then we converted that to a number. Otherwise, you see, if you do not use a numeric field, how will we compare the number? It will be a problem. Then let's use that. What is it? I think it was a hash of years of service, something like that. Let's see if that is the field. Convert text to number. Numbers of years from length of service. This is the one, isn't it? Convert text to number. This is the numeric field. You see, if I look at the field type, can I see the field type? You see, I can see the icon. It's a hash. It means it's the numeric field. Alright, I will choose this. And then I should say greater than or equal to 0. And there will be ND criteria. Again, I will copy the field. I will put it here. And in the condition, I should say less than or equal to. And it should be 7. Correct. Absolutely. It is done. The text to number of years from the length of service. We have converted that. If it is greater than 0 or less than or equal to 7. Let's just copy it and keep it for our reference. Let's just field 1. Let me just remove this description and keep the name. What is the next one? 8 to 15 years. Let's try to create it. Can we just copy it over? Can we copy calculated fields? Otherwise, I have to again do it. The good news is yes, we can copy calculated field. You can copy. How did I do it? Related actions, calculated field copy. Remember one thing. It doesn't. The name is blank. You have to keep the name copied somewhere. Between what? 8:15. Right. And what do we have to do here? Everything else remains the same. Here we make it 8. And here we make it as 15. That's it. Second field is done. You see how quickly we are able to create those fields. Right. Let me copy this and let me save it again. In the place of the second field, just bear with me. It will take a little bit longer for me to create the other ones. 16. Fair enough. Let's copy it. Calculated field copy. Paste between 8. Instead of 8, we will say 16. And here we will say 30. Here we will say 16. And here we will say 30. Straightforward. 3 fields created. Copy the. And here we are going to place it here. Right. Last field is slightly different. Greater than or equal to 30. Let's quickly do that. Calculated field copy. Here we will just do, instead of between, we will say greater than 31. And we will say years. Greater than 31 years. Alright. And greater than or equal to 31. Do I need to keep the other condition? Not necessary. Not necessary. Right. Only one field here greater than or equal to 31. We have created our 4 true-false conditions. It's good to have this already created. Let's put that inside this evaluate expression. And this text constant amateur experience, senior and legend. We will see. Right. I will show you another technique of creating those. You of course, just like the technique I showed you, create one, you copy them. That is also perfect. But you can do that. Or we can do it from within the other calculation as well. That's what I'm going to show you now. Whichever you are more comfortable with. If you want to create these 4 fields up front, you can do that. Right? But I will do it from within this calculated field. Now, what are we going to create? We are going to create this field 5. We are going to look at a function that is called evaluate expression. We will see what it does. Again, we will create a calculated field. I can use the task or I can just click on this one. Create another calculation. It will again bring up the create calculated field page. Alright. The name has to be different. This will be evolx. That is what we use as evaluate expression. And what are we going to say? Derive experience bands from years of service. Correct. You can name it anything. But just make it meaningful. Instead of just test 1 or my field 1. Do not use that. Evaluate expression. Alright. You see, it asks you about a few things. One is what is going to be the field type. It can return any of these field types. But what do you think? What is going to be our field type? Because that is the final output. Amateur, experienced, or senior or legend. That is going to be the final output. It has to be text field. Let's do that. Let's call it as a text field. What is the default value? If none of those conditions are met, or if there is a problem with the calculation, what do you want to have in the output? Maybe let's say it's a text. Let's give a text. Maybe or a hyphen. Right? Let's give a hyphen. We could not. We could not do it. We did not know the calculation. Let's use this. Maybe some condition we haven't thought about. Returns a dash character. How did I go about it? You see, I clicked on this field. I have this global fields. And I chose text. That's why it narrowed it down to only the text global fields. I clicked on that. And you can choose. You can choose a bracket. You can choose this one. What is this? This is I don't know. Underscore. What about this one? Another underscore. What about this one? Many type of underscores. Anyway, let's not use underscore. Let's use this one. The dark. Now, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? The first one says condition. This condition has to be a true-false field. Do we have any true-false fields with us? Right? We have. We have created them. Let's start using them. CFWF length of service. You see, I could search for it and it is available here. Now return value if condition is true. What happens if this condition is true? Amit, we should return the text emitter. If I go and click on this, I have not created that field yet. But can I do it from here? Calculated field. But you see, I cannot type in amateur. I cannot type in the text here. It has to be another field. That is why we have to store the value in a text constant. Right. In evaluate expression, that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it is diverse. It is powerful. Bad thing is for everything you have to create another calculated field. That's the bad thing. Here return value of condition is true. Let's click on that and say create calculated field. We will call it as CF text constant. Right. And we have to also put in will. Right. Business object. Now you have two options to store the business. I mean to use the business object. One is you can use worker, of course, like the rest of the worker related objects. Or you can use global. Why global? Because let's say if we do something else, we may also want to use this text constant amateur. It is not always related to the worker. It can be for something else as well. Right. We may want to use it there. I want to use the business object as global. A function is text constant. And what is the constant text? Isn't it? You see, it automatically comes here. A C tier. Alright, let's keep adding our 4 conditions here, one after the other. Alright. Let's see if we can quickly find those fields. We have done 0 to 7. Let's use 8 to 15. And again CBTF. We can use 16 to 30. Subit leaf. This is done. Now let me tell you something. And let me give you a hint and a tip. Workday will start evaluating from top to bottom. This is the direction in which it will evaluate. The first matching condition that it finds it will result in that. It will take that as the true condition. It will stop the calculation there. The first matching true condition. To improve performance, what should you do? We should try to do the minimum number of calculations. First of all, try to identify where you have the maximum population. Where do you have the maximum population? Maybe run this report once. Try to find out where you have just do an eyeball figure and try to find out where you have the maximum population. Maybe it is between 8 and 15. If that is the case, you should have this as the first row. Right? I understand that looking at this is more logical. 8 to 16 to 30 and 31. That is more logical. I absolutely understand. But from a performance point of view, this might be more efficient if most of your workers are between 8 to 15 years. Because then it will do this first step for most of the cases and it will be true. Otherwise, what happens? It will first do 0 to 7 calculation. Then it will come to A and 15. Correct. When you design this evaluate expression thing, keep this in mind. How to improve the performance? Just making this slight change will do you a world of good if you are dealing with large data sets. Keep this in mind. Always have the first condition as the most common condition. Then you don't have to do the other calculations at all. Right. We will find out. We don't know yet. Maybe for the time being we can do it like this. Alright. Let's quickly create the other calculated fields. Instead of amateur, what is it? Experienced. Experience. Let's call it as global. Text constant. And let's put it as experienced. Alright. 2 fields are done. Let's quickly do the third one. Create calculated field very quickly. What is the other condition that we had? Senior and legend. Instead of amateur, we will call it as senior. Function is text constant. Just bear with me because it takes time. I have to create many different calculated fields. See? And what is the last one? Let's create calculated field. Alright. Instead of senior, we will call it as legend. Business object is global. Function is text constant. And here we are going to use legend. That's it. We are done. What is this evaluate expression going to do? It is going to evaluate a series of conditions. It goes from top to bottom. The first matching condition that is met, it marks it as true. And it returns the value if the condition is true. In our particular example, what is the return condition type? The return condition is text constant because we are looking at a text type of field, isn't it? That's why we did this. Alright, we are done. Let's save this. Let's save this field. It's a very complicated field that we have created. We have used 8 different calculated fields. And we have put them all together in one more calculated field. 9 different calculated fields. Let's go back to our report and use this calculated field in the report. Here it is. We go here and we say custom report edit. Let's go back to our report. We have used this for a number. We have used this for a number. Let's go back to our report. 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 Can we say contains amateur? Let's see if we have a few amateurs. Oh, we don't. We don't have amateurs. Alright. Anybody who is a legend. We have a few legends. We have a few legends. 122 years of experience. Well, that is a bit silly. I mean, maybe just wrong data. 1900 is not the higher date for people. But anyway, 122 years for a few workers. But anyway, our calculation is working correctly. That's what we are more interested about. 102 years of experience. 1920. 1922. 1922. They are all categorized as legend. Alright. Anything else? Any other category that we have created? Experience. Right? Experience. Do we have any experienced people? We have a few. You see 14 years of experience. It is experienced. What was experienced again? Between 8 to 15. 8 to 15. Our calculation, is it working? 8 to 15. Looks like it. 12 years experienced. 10 years experienced. 11 years experienced. Our calculation is working absolutely correctly. If we are doing that, let's say between 7 and 8. You see how we arrived at this calculation? We are ultimately taking only the completed years. Because you see the length of service here. You see here for this worker is also. It is more than 12 years. Jorim Soto. Right? It is more than 12 years. Actually. 12 years, 1 month and 30 days. Right? But then what did we extract from that? 12 years. And then we did our calculation based on that. Actually, we are only taking completed years of experience. Look at this unfortunate person. Christian Davidson. 10 years, 11 months and 12 days. He could say that In like 2 or 3 weeks, I would be 11 years. Why are you considering me as 10? But we can't hurt. Like the way we calculated, it was completed. Years of experience. Right? I'm sure there is a better way of doing it. We can say, if we did more than 10 years, then we do something like that. Of course we can do it. But here it is difficult to do because we only extracted the number of years based on this. Right. 10 years, 11 months, 12 days. Still we consider him as 10 years. Right. It happened to me. It happened to me. I mean, there is a story for this as well. I was applying to a position 5 or 6 years ago. And at that point I had completed. I mean, very similar to this. I had around 10 years and I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 months and a few days. I applied to the recruiter and the recruiter said, "What is your total years of experience?" I said it's around 10 years and 7 months. And she said, "Oh, our position is for somebody who has 11 years of experience." I said, "Of course. But by the time I join you, it will be like another 3-4 months because I have a notice period of 3 months and the interview process will take 2 months. Definitely. By the time I join, I will be 11 years of experience." She said, "I agree. But at this point, I'll put you as 10 years experience." And then she asked, "Hey, what is your relevant years of experience?" I said for that, it is like 3.5 years. And she said, "I'll put total experience as 3 years." That's how it did. And I was not qualified enough for the job because I had a total of 3 years of experience relevant to that. I had 3.5. She put it at 3 total years. I had a little more than 10 years and 7 months. She put it as then. That is how it is sometimes that they will take only the completed years of experience. Alright. Now, but let me go back to this report. What was the good thing and bad about this particular calculated field that we did? What did you like this way of doing the calculation? Evaluate expression. What do you think about it? It's good. You can do all those if else conditions, right? If this multiple conditions you can do. What is the problem with this? Many calculated fields, right? And even for this text constant, I mean, I want a fixed text. Why do I need to have a text constant? I mean, it sometimes can be a bit frustrating and resource intensive, I would say. Because even for giving a fixed text output, you have to create another calculated field. That sometimes can be a bit tricky. What Workday has come up with now is what they have enhanced it at. Workday has come up with something called an evaluate expression band. You want to see an evaluate expression band? Let's do it. It will not take much long. It will not take longer because we have already created the condition field. Create a cal field. I will show you 3 different ways of arriving at the same result. Instead of evaluate expression, we are going to do evaluate expression bands. There is a separate new function that has come up very recently. Derive experience band, or now we will say determine experience bands from years of service. Actually the same thing, but just I want to use a different name that we are able to search it quickly. We have to do the worker and the function that we will use is evaluate expression band. You see right here, evaluate expression band. This is a new function that has come up. Let's see what it does. Default value. Does it have to be a field? You see here. It had to be a field. I had to search for a field here. Does it have to be a field? No, I can put it anything right. Let's use the same thing dash. Alright. And you see the beauty of it. It asks you for the condition, which is again has to be a true, false. And here it says return value of condition is true. But it is not a drop-down. It is not a calculated field. It is just some text of random text that I can put in and it will work. It is much faster, much cleaner. Let's copy these condition criteria because they are anyway the same. And instead of creating and storing something in the calculated field, I can just put it like this. And then let me just add the 4 conditions. And let's put it like this. Oh, this should have been the 3rd criteria, isn't it? And what was the 2nd criteria? To fit. What was the last one? Greater though. Greater than 31 years. This is legend. This is senior. This is experienced. And how many fields did we create for this? Only 4 calculated fields, right? Only 4 calculated fields here. We can just put in some text. We did not have to store them in separate calculated fields. Smart, isn't it? But what is the problem or what is the limitation with this? What is the limitation with this? What do you think? Does this one hold true? Functions that can return any of the above formats. Evaluate expression can return any of the formats. It gave me a drop-down. I could choose text. I could choose the currency. I could choose anything. When I chose evaluate expression, but in an evaluate expression band, could I choose all those different types of output? Right? It can only return a simple instance or a text kind of output. That's it. It is a specialized version of evaluate expression, but for a very specific use case. We have to remember that. It looks very nice. It's faster. Definitely it is faster. It is very, very good. And it will give you the same output with much less effort. But it is not as versatile. We still need evaluate expression. We will still need evaluate expression, that function. And believe me, it is one of the most popular and most widely used. Calculated field function, evaluate expression. Because wherever you are going to write conditional logic, a series of conditional logic, you will have to use evaluate expression bands. Your experience bands, let's say expression bands, right? Just to make sure that we are using that particular calculation. Let me use this and run this report one more time. Does it give me the same output? Evaluate expression versus evaluate expression versus evaluate expression versus evaluate expression bands. Same output. But it was simpler and smarter. But like I said, It is very specific. It is not as versatile as evaluate expression. It is nice. It's very good. But it is not as versatile. It is use case specific. Right. Now let me show you one more calculated field. It is even simpler. For the particular use case that we are doing, let's use another calculation. This one is even more specific for this kind of like deriving bands or deriving ranges from, an existing numeric or a currency field. Here we will call it as CF. It is a BBB view and then LRP or a lookup range band. Here we will say identify experience bands from years of service. Alright. What? And lookup range band. Right? Lookup range band. But here we have one thing which is good. Let me just copy the field where we have extracted the number of years. This one. In this calculated field, it asks you what is the source field on which you are trying to do the calculation. I will put the number, the numeric one, the number of years of service from the length. Then it says what decimal. How many decimal places do you want for your calculation? Well, we don't want any because we are dealing with integers. But you can go up to 4 places of decimal. You can select up to 4 places of decimal. But we do not care because we are dealing with integers only. Alright. Round. Round down. Round half down. Round up. And you have these 4 options of rounding. If your data has 5 places, or maybe you are looking for 0 places of decimal, but your data has more than 0, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 places of decimal. How will you allow for that? Are you going to round it? Depending on the type of data, you can choose. Like that recruiter friend of mine who made my 10 years. 7 months of experience into 10 years. What did she do actually? Which rounding did she do? Round down. She rounded down. But then there was my team lead, whom I said. He was proposing me for a position for a customer. And he said, hey, for this we need a person with like around 7 years of experience. I said, my relevant experience is only 6.5 at max. And he said, anyway, it's more than 6, right? We will say it's 7. What did he do for me? Round up. He did a round up. He said more than 6 means it's 7. That is the thing with rounding. You can round it down. You can round it up. If it is rounding half now, then what does that mean? If I'm saying it is 6 years and 8 months, or maybe 6 years and 9 months, then what would it be? Round half down meaning 6.4, 6.5. It will be 6.5, right? 6.5. If it was 7.2, it will be rounded to 7. It will be 7.2, will be rounded down to 7. If it was 7.8, it will be rounded to 7.5. It will be rounded half down. Alright. We will say round because we actually do not care about that because all our data is, in this case, the data is integer. We don't need rounding. Alright. Here in this grid, you see we don't have to specify anything at all. We just have to define the ranges 0 to 7. What was the value? 0 to 7 of which field? It's right here at the top. 0 to 7 of this field. Here we have only one field as a source of data. All the values that we are giving in the grid are possible values of that particular field. Now let's keep adding. You see, automatically it becomes 8 from 0 to 7 automatically. The next one starts with 8. I mean, it is designed for this. It's perfect for this kind of thing. 8 to 15, we say it is experienced. Let's add something here. The next one automatically has 16 in it. 16 to 30, we said it is the senior. And if I add another one, automatically it is 31. It starts with 31, but here we have to give a higher. I mean a top limit. We cannot leave it as 0. We have to give a value. Let's give it as 1000. Right. I'm not expecting anybody to have 1000 years of experience. I'm just putting it a value large enough for me to handle this. It is legit. But you see the beauty of this calculated field. I'm just giving the ranges and I'm giving the related values that I want. And I have the flexibility to add anything. I don't have to create and store it in a calculated field and then use it in this calculation. Isn't it? Is also nice. To save this. But again, there is a limitation with this. The LRB can only convert a range of data into individual bands. It cannot do anything else. It is good at doing that. Definitely. It is good at doing that, but it cannot do anything else. If you are dealing with something like a text criteria, if the first name contains a, then do something. If the location is such and such, do something. If that is the requirement, would you be able to use an LRB? No, right? Because an LRB can only work with a numeric or a currency feed where there is a number. And it's based if its whole objective or its whole capability is to convert that numeric range into bands. It will do well. It will do well. If you have another example, like let's say you want to categorize your maybe salaries. What is the minimum salary in the organization? Maybe you have 10,000, right? And you have the top level as, let's say 1 million. Is this mealing? Have I put no? Have I put everything correctly? One looks like it. Anyway, let's put it like this. If this is the range of pay. You want to categorize and you want to say between 10 to maybe $50. We will call them as low. Between 50 to learn 50. We will call them as media. And if it is more than 50,000, we will call them as. Right? What are we doing here? There was a numeric reach. This is the minimum value. There's a maximum value. And all the employees are between these range. Now we are converting that range into bands. Whether a worker is having a low salary or a medium salary or a high salary. Correct. This can in this case. Which function would you use evaluate expression band or lookup range band. And lookup. The lookup range band will perform the best on this because it is simple. No frizz. Lookup range band might be the best for this particular situation. Correct. Now tell me this. Let's take another example. For example, if the first name starts with starts with B, G, Eve or G, then return a list. This is what we are going to you have as the output. Then similarly, what is it? Then if it is between H to maybe or not ever, let's say a mono P sub, we will say His Majesty. And then if it we will say this is what you want to do. Then what would you do? Which function would you use? Evaluate expression. Evaluate expression. Evaluate expression band or evaluate expression. Evaluate expression. Both will be fine. But which one would you prefer? The band. The band one. Right? Because otherwise, what will happen again? You have to create separate calculated fields for this text field. Tell me this. Experience. Let's not do that. If job prof. Not job profile. Let's see. If management level. Manage. Oh. Have oppose. We are going to have. If the management level is manager at above, we are going to have a proposed allowance plan, right? We are going to find out what allowance plan are we going to propose. For this, for the new managers, if it's a proposed allowance plan, will be, let's say, colons. If management, let's not say manager at above. Let's say only manager. If the management level is director, the allowance level is allowance. Similarly, management level is. If management level is C, the proposed allowance is. This is not a text. Let me tell you this. This is the link to. This is the allowance that we want to have in the output. Whoever is doing this report, whoever is looking at this report, can straight away click on this allowance and make sure that it is included in the package. We want to return allowance. Let's do it. Something else. Forget about that. If the management level is manager, First line manager. The first line manager. If it is director. Name of first, name of sorry, I'm getting it all wrong. If the management level is manager. Name of the second line manager like manager's manager. If the management level is director, return the name of the manager. And if the management level is CEO, who is the manager of the CEO? Himself, right? Name of CE. Or himself. Or I mean himself, herself. Right. This is what we are going to do. If this is the requirement, like if the management level is a manager, we have to return the second line manager's name, that it is a clickable link. If the management level is director, you have to return the name of the manager. Because the director may not have a second level manager, right? He may be reporting directly to the CEO. And if it is a CEO, return the name of the CEO, which is himself or self. If this is the criteria that you have to do with, this is the case. This is a calculated field. You have to come up with which function would you use. Evaluate expression band or lookup range band. Evaluate expression. Because here you have to return an instance. Here you have to do some more calculation because you have to find out who is the second line manager, which is manager's manager, and on. You have to come up with these fields. This is not a hard-coded text that you can put it right. It will be dynamic depending on the worker. You have to return something that is dynamic. That is stored in a field. You have to store, you have to select that field. Managers, manager level 0, 2, etc. These are available fields. You have to select those and not hard code something like this. Amateur, senior, or legend. In this case, evaluate expression is a better fit. Anyway, coming back to this, let's use the same calculated field in our report and see what it does. Where is the report? Here it is. Custom reported it. Let's add it here at the end. Here also we are doing experience maps. But using an lookup range band. Let's see if we get the same output or not. Looks the same. When we did evaluate expression, it giving me senior. Evaluate expression band senior. But an RB also, same output. Our output was exactly the same. In this particular case, actually, it did not make much of a difference. We could use either of them. But with this example only, we were able to explore 3 different types of calculated fields. One is an evaluate expression. Evaluate expression will allow us to evaluate a series of functions. First has to be an if condition. If the condition is true, then you have to return something. If the condition is true, then what happens? Then what did we see? Evaluate expression band, which is very similar to evaluate expression. but the only limitation being it can return only a fixed text kind of an output. Correct? And then we looked at lookup range band. And what does that? What does that field do? A lookup range band. A lookup range band allows you to to define a range. Definitely it will allow you to do that. And straight away you can put in the values. Correct. 3 different ways of doing the same thing. Now you decide which one you want, depending on the specific use case. Got. There will be specific use cases for each of these. If there is a multiple series of conditions and you have to have some, if the value that you return is not straightforward text, you have to use evaluate expression. Otherwise, you may use lookup range bands or you may use evaluate expression bands as well. Thank you. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.